Not a bad song. Pearl Jam, Corduroy. Good call.
Yeah.
So we're here today talking cards. How you
Yes,
doing?
sir. Doing great, Chris. How about yourself?
Good. So if people don't know who you are, tell them all about you.
Yeah. So my name is Ishan Baidani. I run a card Discord community called named Cardheads. We're the second largest Discord sports card related Discord community out there. A little bit about me. I'm more or less born and raised in San Antonio, Texas. I went to school up in Austin at the University of Texas. I basically born and raised Texan. I've been collecting. I have a background in business, so I have a BBA, and my background in cards is I've been collecting for about 2.5 years. I really like to talk about it because I actually was not really a collector as a kid, but I think that's more of like for cultural reasons. And so I really like to talk about that idea of like a lot of people that come into the hobby now are not necessarily people that used to collect back then, or a lot of people are first time collectors. And so that's a little bit about my card collecting background. And as far as work, after I graduated, I worked a little bit in a little bit of startup culture in Austin. I worked for a small food app company called Taste Bud. This is basically like dynamic pricing for restaurants to kind of pull in different consumers at different hours, non-typical food hours. And then from there, I actually opened up my own restaurant franchise and a couple different restaurant franchises with my brother and I. And so we owned a Freshie, which is like a fast casual Chipotle type concept. And then we also did I guess like the personal pizza franchise, chains, your Blazes, your Mods, we had a Pyologist. So a little bit of a diverse background. My family's background is in like retail, convenience store, gas station, and other things like that. So I've had my hands dipped in business for as long as I can remember, and then recently it's been a lot of cards.
How old are you now?
I am 24. Actually, turned 25 next week.
Well, you've been pretty busy then.
Yeah. I like to stay busy. Definitely, that's I didn't want to do the typical like corporate route after getting a business degree, so I kind of like to do my own little things.
What would you tell somebody that's just now getting into the collectible card space?
Yeah, so the collectible space is really interesting. The biggest misconception I hear now is that it's a little bit of a fad. And it's actually, I would say, one of the furthest things from a fad, right? Like this is not like a recent thing. This isn't like an 80s thing and now. This has been going on and off, in cycles for over 100 years, right? So you're talking like the early 1900s, the late 1800s is when you had your first like trading cards that are, still available, still around today and stuff. So, it's definitely got its lineage and its history, and, it wanes in its fans, definitely, but it's back now stronger than it's ever been. And there's a lot of reasons to point to why now rather than before.
Probably Gary V. About 2 years ago, he started getting into the card pretty heavy. I know he's championing it like crazy. My friend Dan Fleischman is about a card shop in Hollywood.
Fleischman, yeah. He's doing some really nice things in the hobby. He's got a really interesting like angle that he's taking at it. Like a lot of people right now are looking into getting into more card shops and things like that because they see it's a cultural shift that's occurring in the collectible space. And it's not just like, oh, this is a fad thing that people are buying, they're making money on. It really is like a dynamic shift that's happening towards, away from, I guess, like your classical art that you see, your Rembrandts, your Picassos, right? Your average millennial who is now like basically in his 30s has excessive disposable income, maybe pre-family is typically your target market, or even post-family, right? If they have excessive disposable income, their, I guess, palette for culture is not I guess, is not fulfilled by your classical art as much as it is by popular culture,
What are
right?
some
Your
of the,
sports.
what are some of the more exciting cards in the space that you like? Are you
Yeah.
excited about baseball, basketball?
So, I mean, basketball is it's its own flamethrower. I mean, it's unlike anything we've ever seen, bigger than baseball in the 80s and 90s. There's a scarcity aspect to it, and then there's a significant demand aspect and a growing demand right now. And that's what creates like a huge surge in price. So basketball is definitely a flamethrower by itself, but there's so many other niches. For example, like soccer cards are turning on absolute fire, and that's because it's fueled by an international demand, right? You have China, who opens more packs of soccer, per capita, probably three times what the United States does. You have the European market that's slowly getting into it. They have like a little bit of different collecting culture, but it's slowly shifting that way as well. So soccer has been a huge one. Even like niches, right? You see Pokemon right now. With next year being the 25th anniversary of the original, Pokemon cards coming out and the original release of Pokemon.
5 years.
Yeah, and that's a significant landmark, right? So we're seeing, a lot that bring a lot of nostalgia back to the hobby, right? People are looking to collect those, types of things. But in reality, it's all under the umbrella of the collectible market. And there's been a very big shift in what is collectible now to more pop culture related things, because pop culture is more accessible. That's what's more popular. That's what's more relevant. And so that's why the shift is going that way.
What are some of the cards that you are hanging on to right now personally that you love?
So yeah, I today was actually a big day. So today is the first day release of this new product. Not many people get their hands on these this fast. Today was actually the first day of release. This is a brand new football product they released today. It is a Panini Mosaic football.
And who makes
and it's a brand new product. Panini. So Panini is probably the most popular distributor of trading cards.
Wow.
There's more or less there's two main companies. There's Panini and there's Topps.
I was going to say
Panini has, yeah. So Topps is more or less only baseball nowadays. I guess it is a little bit of complicated of a subject getting into the licensing, right? Only one company has a license for each sport to print logos. So anybody can print a trading card, but the only ones that contain significant value are the ones that also have, team logos and that have team names and thus have licensing. And so there's like been a couple shifts in licensing about who has licensing for what sports. But right now, Panini is king. They own football and basketball.
Wow.
And so this is a brand new football product they came out. They brought it out in basketball, and it was really successful. So they brought it out in football. I'm not the type of I take a lot of an investment angle on my collecting. So I don't usually buy boxes to rip boxes. I would say buying sports card boxes to hold are, comparable to some of the best investments you can make, period, on the market. When you're talking about stocks, even stock splits.
You just hold it for a period of time to see what the value.
I just hold the box, right? So exactly. So the collectible market is ruled by scarcity, right? And that's kind of the number one rule we have to think about. So, each product has 1 year. Each year, only X amount is printed. If I hold this box is worth, it's worth $660 today, the first day it came out, when the supply is at 100%.
Wait
right?
a second. That box is worth $660. What did you pay for
it? I paid $660.
Oh, you paid $660. And what? And I mean, there's.
I paid $660 for this today. I got yeah.
Wow. There's and how many cards are in that box?
So it is 150 cards. It is 10 packs and 15 cards per pack. So 150 cards.
It's like $4 a
and
card.
Yeah.
And
more or less, it's like buying a lotto ticket, right? I'm not a gambler. I like to take, smart investments. So instead of me ripping this open, taking out the cards, and maybe the cards being valuable, I will hold this until the total supply of this unopened boxes is maybe 50%. And then we'll look at where the demand is for these. And then we'll reevaluate at 40%, 30%, until the supply gets so little that eventually the demand for this product and what drives that demand is more or less good rookie players, right? Good young players. So you only get rookie cards, right? That's always the big draw of sports cards, right? Getting a good rookie card.
Is it say two autographs in there? So those are autograph cards?
Yeah, so there's 2 autographs per box.
Wow.
And so if you get a great card from a rookie player, that's the only you can pull that rookie. So as the years go on, let's say in 2021, 2022, 2023, 3 years later, the ability to pull a rookie from this year, let's say a football rookie like a number 1 overall pick Joe Burrow or a number 5 overall pick Tua Tagovailoa, the ability to pull them becomes exponentially more valuable because they're better players. Their single cards are more valuable. So now this box, the ability to pull those valuable cards is increasingly valuable since the supply is so less. And then when you add in the grading aspect and all of those other things, it's over time, holding sealed boxes of cards has outperformed the stock market overall. It is a fact. I can show you data. You can easily look up data. It has outperformed the stock market holding sealed boxes of sports cards. Now it wanes and it flows, so does the stock market. But over time, the lottery ticket that this is,
so you're saying that box is worth more than 1 Bitcoin.
Hopefully one day, right? So I bought about 4 boxes of these, so more or less, one day it could be worth a Bitcoin. I mean, so like, we've seen this, right? In very valuable products, right? When you think about like the 2003, right? The year where you have like LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and, Carmelo Anthony, right? The ability to pull one of those valuable cards, the potential to is worth so much. And so the value of that box is almost like $20,000 to get a box, $16,000 to get a box of, a box where you can pull a LeBron James rookie or a Dwayne Wade rookie.
So what I'd like to propose to you is, how about we put together a masterclass that teaches people everything about investing in cards?
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of business potential in the hobby. It really is turning into more of like an investment. Right? The way that people in the hobby currently see it project out is we almost see like a sports stock market. Like this is, everyone's always tried to do something like a sports stock market, right? There's always been something that people have wanted to make it, but it never has really clicked. But when the sports stock market is backed by the art aspect of it, right? Like you look at like a card like this, right? Like, it's got a beautiful blue refraction. There's only 99 of these in the world, right? When you bring in the art aspect to it,
who was
DeAndre Ayton.
Oh, wow. DeAndre Ayton from the Phoenix Suns.
Yes, sir.
How much is that?
So when you, probably about 500-ish, something in that range, because there are only 99 of them. But when the stock market is backed by the real art value and the collectability of the item, then you have a real stock market, right? When it's backed by something, right? At the end of the day, you have a collector who will pay for it because it is a collectible item. And that backing is what can propel into a stock market, right? When you have a consistent level of demand, you have multiple levels of buyers. And so that's what those who are getting invested into the hobby on higher end levels kind of projected to see. And if you look at it from that angle, that this is the next sports stock market and you can buy and sell and invest in different players and get kind of a different thrill out of it than your sports gambling or your fantasy football and things like that. It's a different but similar thrill, but different. And then there's also a gambling aspect of, ripping open cards and finding out what cards you get. So it's really multifaceted that it can kind of grow into something that's, a little bit more of a household. But there are also reasons why it is, more, it is different than the 80s and 90s, right? There are certain technological innovations, and that's just, the scratching the surface of it. But so many technological innovations that allow this to be a more malleable and, larger scale hobby, right? You talk about like social media, right? More people get acclimated to the hobby. Instagram is probably the biggest puller in of people in the hobby right now because they see, people online opening packs, opening boxes, things like that. the shipping aspect of it, right? Shipping innovations have allowed people, now I can get cards. I trade with people across the country on a weekly basis, where I'm sending cards and getting cards in from Minnesota, LA, California, from all over the country, right? I couldn't do that really in the 80s efficiently, especially even like raw cards. I mean, no way. But so there's many reasons why it's different in the 80s and 90s, and there's a reason why people have always gravitated towards it since the 1900s. So I actually sell a course on Gumroad that kind of teaches people how to get involved with the sports card investing. I think a masterclass might be a better approach to it, because I guess the course isn't as encompassing. And so I also created a Discord community, Cardheads. We're the only Discord community we're the only sports card community that's dedicated to teaching people about the hobby. When I got into the hobby, I realized there just wasn't enough like concrete, succinct information about how to get involved in investing, right? No one wants to have a money dump hobby, right? People want a hobby where they can make a little bit, break even, or maybe even make a decent amount, right? And so if that's something that can be added into it, it creates more demand, right? And it's more involvement. And so I created the community, and it's been pretty successful, right? Like in maybe like a 3 or 4 month span, we went from no members, and I was like DMing individual people on Discord, like, hey, please join my server. Hey, please join my server. And then actually, thanks to Gary Vee, he a couple retweets here or there. He actually joined, and he would discuss on an almost weekly basis at times. He would come in and just talk cards with us, and so he helped us take off a lot. And so then from there, it grew, and now we just crossed over almost 1,800 members, 1,820, give or take a little bit. So, but the big thing that I'm really excited about is we're actually launching almost like an investment group. So we see that the pool that the hobby has, there's a certain, it's fun, and it can be a good investment, as good of an investment, something to add to your portfolio, right? There are people out there that do this for a living, right? You have local card shops who have, brick and mortar. I have one in San Antonio. He's been there for 30 years, same location. And, he's been doing this his whole life. And there are plenty of other stories out there, people who do this for a living. But obviously not all of us are as invested in it, or, have other priorities, things like that. But there's people that are still interested enough in it as a hobby, right? It is a huge hobby. And so we're launching an investment group to take those people who are interested in, creating, if you're going to put some time into it, creating a decent amount of real income out of it, right? Something tangible, and kind of pooling our resources together to really, combine and work together to not only help each other out, discuss new releases, new products, right? A lot of people don't even know that this brand new product is coming out.
What are you guys doing?
A little bit of a fun. I imagine a fun aspect to it, but more. I've created like exclusive tools and resources, things that work really well with Discord, to actually give us like legitimate competitive advantages, right? Like nothing foul play or anything, but like a very common aspect that people use is like eBay, right? And so eBay, you either use buy it now or you either auction, right? If you use a auction, right, there's a little bit of a gamble aspect to it. You never know at the last second, you can get undercut. There's a lot of different things that can happen in that situation. In a buy it now, typically your prices are a little higher, and it's hard to find good deals. Typically what people do is they'll go to newly listed buy it nows, right? And you filter them for what's newly listed, and you go online and you look, and maybe you can find a better deal than all the other numbers you see out there when people typically do their buying on eBay. We've created a program that kind of flips that process on its head, right? Instead of you having to go to eBay to find deals, it'll flip them to you. And so something that'll kind of save you time. It's a decent competitive advantage, right? It took us a little bit of time to put together, but nothing crazy, nothing insane. But I guess we imagine kind of like a similar model to Sports Card Investor, Jeff Wilson's, program, but I mean, nothing like his, because his is a whole different scale. Ours is more like an investment group that kind of pulls their money together, puts their time together, finds niches in the market to kind of attack together and things like that. So that's something we're really excited about. We're rolling that out just about, what's today? I don't even know what today is. Thursday, Friday, probably next week. So we're really excited about that.
That's awesome. Why don't we get together next week and talk a little bit about it after you've launched it to see if we can get you some more investors involved?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that'd be amazing. We've put a lot of time into cultivating resources and kind of picking out experts in every niche. And so what I imagine is that someone who is interested but not with enough time commitment to be able to go all in and really research everything and find those great investments, rather putting a small portion aside, maybe $20 to $30 a month, where we can go on, we can find and fund really great people in these niches to be able to give us what they find, right? I have a guy who's amazing in soccer cards, right? He knows every single niche card and set, and a guy with Pokemon cards or UFC cards. So we've gone out and kind of found a lot of experts, compiled them to save people a lot of time. So I think, like people that, I guess a lot of your target market and a lot of your subscribers as well are, would be really interested. And I think it can be really beneficial to them financially as well, really.
Ishan, this stuff is super exciting. I love hearing the passion in your voice. I think you're onto something big. I think I just swallowed a potato chip from earlier.
No, I really appreciate it.
Let's circle up next week and talk about the launch of your new product, and send me some links where people can find you, and we'll put them on video.
Alrighty, yeah, definitely. I really appreciate it.
Unless I choke to death and this is my last video.
Let's hope not.
He's Cardheads. I'm Chris Champion. I got to get some water. Peace out.
Yep, thanks a lot.